This episode is sponsored by Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore.
So scaling a business and especially painting, it's really difficult. I got to tell you. I mean, I don't know much about about electricians, but I know there's some standardized training that you have to go through with becoming an electrician. And honestly, David, we don't really have that. We don't have a very systematic. In most states, you can run a painting company without a license. There are some challenges that we have that are unique to our trade. And I'm just wondering, why do you think it's just so difficult to scale a trade-based company?
Oh, talent, right?
Yeah.
you you work to build them and they leave you.
Mm.
Right. It's because it's that apprenticeship model, and we talked a little bit about this earlier. But that idea of these people are learning, and as they learn, they start to get to a point like, the guy I work for isn't exactly my favorite person in the world, and I could go do
Yeah.
this on my own. They start
Right.
picking up side jobs, right, doing weekend gigs and moonlighting a little bit, and they realize I make a lot more when I do this on my own, and pretty soon they get a helper and off they go. Right, that happens
Yeah.
a lot in the trades.
Yeah. Have you seen that? I mean, I'm sure you've seen it, but are there any stories that you have where that's particularly impacted a company or a business owner?
Yeah, I was working with a friend of mine, Boyd, and he had grown, and this is electrical, right? Again, but a majority of his crew were apprentice and helpers.
Hmm.
He only had
Hmm.
one other journeyman on the crew.
Mm.
But he'd grown to a decent size. They had about 15 people, had some good business going. Sometimes they'd be higher, sometimes a little lower, but pretty regular. Seasonality would still hit them, but they'd keep some core jobs and things that could keep them going during the downtimes too. And as he was growing and he was doing well, he had his right-hand person, right, who
Hmm.
he was teaching everything to, because that guy could do it all. He was hungry. He could
Hmm.
sell even, but he could
Yeah.
deliver. He was a journeyman. He led the crews well, and everyone really looked up to him. And he was really looking forward to giving the business, because he was getting closer to retirement. He was planning on giving ownership over to him
Mm.
and have him
Hmm.
run things.
Hmm.
So, he was feeling pretty good.
Yeah.
And then he showed up for work one Monday and he was gone. And he had a sticky note that said, "Hey, I went off and started my own thing." And he
Ooh.
left with some of the other key team members and half of his customers plus. So basically decimated his business overnight.
Yeah. Holy
Right. I
cow.
mean, that's hard stuff.
Yeah.
And I
What?
asked him, yeah,
Yeah.
go
What do you
ahead.
have to do? Well, what did he do?
Well, it put him in a real bind, and financially, and where everything was, is he had to rebuild, and he had to get outside funding. So he lost control of his business. He had to let someone else buy it and be a funder. And now he was a
Mm.
minority owner of his own business,
Mm.
just to make it through. So that's sorry, that sounds like a terrible scenario.
Well, it is I
But
mean,
it happens, right?
yeah.
It happens. Dude, I asked him, I was like, "Boyd, what in the world happened?" It's like, "Why did he leave? I thought you were giving him ownership and all this." Like, I was. And I said, "Well, what did he have to say to it?" And he said, "Well, he never he never actually knew that I was going to give him ownership."
Mm.
I said, "What?" He said he didn't even, I mean, he left because he didn't see a future. He saw me hanging around forever and thought, "Well, I can go and do this on my own." And he had never told him what his vision was, even for that key employee, what my hopes are for you, what I'm planning for you. He didn't
Yeah.
work with him on it. So that was a hard lesson to learn.
To watch the full episode, download Overdrive, now available on the App Store and Google Play.